Okay, before I go any further, let me demonstrate to you how to take a stitch or a seam buster or seam ripper and how to use it. Okay, and I'm gonna demonstrate it on this seam that we just sewed into this thing. All you gotta do is you take this little pointy end right here. Okay, see if the camera can see that really good. And you hook the thread with it, and you see this slot down here? That's a damn razor in there. That sucker, well, it might as well be a razor. It is sharp as hell, and it'll cut the piss out of that thing. All you gotta do is go under here and you find that seam. And the tighter the seam, and I had it really tight set, it's a little bit harder, but you hook that damn thing, just push it through there until it gets to that point right there. You see how it is? Push. And it cut the piss out of it. And you just go down through there and just hook them and pull them out. Nothing to it, and cut them. Well, you can see it's, instead of cutting it, it's pulling it out because it's not really that damn tight. But that's all you got to do in order to do it. And once you get it ripped out to a point, you can just open it right out. I mean, it'll just come right a damn gun apart. The ends where you sewed it up, you know, double and triples the stitch to make it that much stronger. You know, it'll take a little bit more to tear it out, but you got to be careful because that damn thing, it'll go right through the cloth. I mean, it'll punch holes right in your dang gum cloth, and it'll tear it and it'll cut it. I mean, you screw around, it'll cut the piss out of it. So you got to be careful. But once you get the seams ripped out, then all you got to do is grab it, just pull it apart. You see? There's nothing to it. So this little tool right here is worth this freaking weight in gold when you're working on this kind of stuff. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I took my gear back apart. I don't know why I know why I was in such a big hurry. I wanted to see how it would fit. Put it all together before I added any extra camouflage to it. Now I'm going back to do it, so I had to disassemble it. And my God, what a mess. It's a nightmare to take all this stuff apart. That's one of the advantages of Molly. But anywho, I took it all apart, and now I'm going to sew some pieces on to the webbing at the back. I intend to use the backpack cover / cape because it works both ways. I got little hooks and straps on it to hook it to the gear. But I want to make damn sure that if for some reason I don't have it, that just look. I mean, look at that. That's horrendous. And I want to cover all that up. And I'm going to add some more to the new shoulder pads and to the front pouches and so forth. But I wanted to give you an overall look before I got started sewing on it. Okay. When you go to add a piece of material, and this is simply for illustration. This is an old piece of a jersey. I mean some sweatpants or something. I don't even know what I cut it off of. And it's bright, so you can see it pretty good on this crappy lighting I have in here. But when you go to sew a piece on, all right, first thing you need to do is get you a marker. All right, a marker that will show up on the fabric, and black shows up on everything but black, of course. Red will actually show up on black. It'll look, you know, it'll contrast with it. You need to make sure, for instance, this square piece right here. All right, you need to make sure that you have enough to turn it under and make a seam, or enough to overlap. Okay, these strings here, though they're a good color, they stick out. I mean, they will stand out. And I'm trying to make sure you guys can see it. You can see those strings, those laces, okay, on the corners here, and the buckles and so forth. You want to make damn sure that they are hidden, okay? So you might want to make sure that whatever the material is that you're using will overlap that, okay? Now, most material, the back side of it is not the same color. For instance, this camouflage pattern, it's a lot brighter than the side you're wanting to use, no matter what it is. It can be, you know, regular the camouflage material you're going to use, I mean, that your BDUs are made out of. Don't matter what damn kind of BDU they are, it will be a lot different, okay, on the back side than the front side. So depending on what the application is, you may want to, you know, fold it at an odd angle or something like this and sew it so that, number one, you don't have that straight line. Number two, it will not easily flip out on you and you see that back side. Just like this gray material here, one side's dark, the other side's bright. So you want to make sure when you're doing it that you give yourself enough excess that you can fold it under, you can make odd shapes and so forth with it. And there you go. Okay, I've laid some of the burlap material here, and I can feel and flip it back, and I can look under there and see where it's at. And I've got probably 1.5 inches of overlap here. I need a little more on the top, so I'll move it this way. Okay, maybe you can see through there. And then I'm filling back through here. I can feel the laces here. I want a little bit overlap here, and I want a little bit overlap there. So you take your marker, just make you a mark. I wouldn't make a straight line. I would make dashes.
They make chalk for that too.
Oh, they make chalk for that, she says. And I don't have any, I don't reckon. So we're just using a Sharpie marker here. And I try to mark it on the brighter, at the brighter points, so I can actually see it, and it'll make a line. I'll cut through that. And another thing, don't cut long, pretty straight lines. There are straight lines in nature. A lot of people say there's not. There's tree trunks and limbs for a short distance that'll be straight. But random is the idea, okay, with camouflage. Be random. The easiest way to do it is turn it over so that the bright side is up, and then mark it. Okay, when you're cutting it out, you've got to remember you want overlap on all sides. You want it to overlap so you can curl it under. You can make it so it's not a straight line, okay? And when you mark it, just use dashes. Don't use a solid straight line. Just dashity, 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 like Morse code, okay? And you fill under there. Here's where the two panels come together, where the strings look like shoestrings come together on this corner. You want to make sure it overlaps that, just like on this end. Better to have too much than not enough, because if you don't have it enough, then you'll either have to use that somewhere else, or you just wasted it. And if you're making a garment, you dang sure you don't want to do that. Dang stuff too expensive. Got it marked. Flip your work around, make sure there's nothing under it that you may cut accidentally, and then simply cut it out. And like I said, don't go in a straight line. Now when it comes to burlap, you can shred the corners and so forth, so you really don't have to worry about it as much. And round the corners off. I reckon this darn camera can get all this. And when you're cutting burlap, little pieces gonna fly off of there the whole way. That's all there is to it. Okay, now we've got our piece cut out. And then you want to orient it so that, like this one here has got, you can see the lines because it's representing a tree trunk, okay? And I never make mine straight up or down. I never make mine straight across. I'll try to put them at an angle. And there's another reason to have that excess, that overhang. So you got them at an angle this way and an opposing angle on the next one. You know, so it just doesn't look man-made. On the burlap and on the other material, if you roll that edge under and you sew it up, it'll keep it together, especially this burlap, because if you don't, let's see if this camera can see it, you just grab that corner and you pull on it and it'll just come right apart. Okay, that's how big this cheap burlap is that I'm using. The how it's put together and how big the stitching is. I mean, it's terrible. I don't know. It's not stitching. What do you call that when, baby doll?
What?
How big the weave is. How tight it is. This is not tight at all. You can see right through it. I mean, it's a screen. That's what it's designed to do. You hide behind it, and you can observe the animals, but the animals cannot necessarily observe you. But you want to roll those corners under. And so when you sew it, you can tie it all up, and it doesn't just come apart. Otherwise, it will. I mean, it will just literally fall apart on you. All right, let's start with this first one. And when you're doing this burlap, you got to make sure the foot doesn't dig into it, because it will damn sure dig into it. All right, let's see, my thread is pulled up. I better pull it out, or it will. And it just made a freaking loop, son of a biscuit eater. Okay, I got the loop out. Now let's make our first stitch, and I want to make sure this damn thing doesn't just come unravel. So I'm going to do like we did earlier. And I'm going to make it rock back and forth. And this thing is so heavy. I'm going to have to help it along, because it's so heavy it will not move the garment on its own, and you'll just have a rat's nest and it'll make a freaking mess. So I'm going to help it along. Got to watch those feet, because like I said, the weave of this stuff is so wide open that the feet will dig into the material right there. Let me see if I can get the camera to cooperate here. I want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing, and it's a freaking nightmare. Alright, but you see these points on the feet? Right here. They'll dig right into that damn weave, and it'll hang you up and it'll mess you up. Make it back up. Sometimes you have to help it along, especially when it's an old machine like this one. This machine is getting older than Methuselah, I'm here to tell you. And my damn thread broke. You see that? Pain in the damn neck. Alright, a lesson on how to get the thread back through there. Okay? For whatever reason it hung up. Now this thing here is the tensioner. It sets how much tension you have and how fast the thread will go through there, and you've got to run your thread behind it. And I'm trying to get in here where you can see. Back up the other side. Then there's this piece of wire right here. Got to run it behind it. Okay. Then it goes up, and you see this little, oh shit, I should have put the camera on the other side. I just don't have the freaking room where I'm at. You got to run the needle through this piece here. Did I say run the needle? Run the thread. Then you come back down. You got another little piece here. You got to hook it in there. Okay. Then here at the very bottom, let me see if I can get my camera to cooperate. And okie dokie. And you run it down, and there's a piece right here. You got to run it behind it. Then you see this piece of wire here. You got to run it behind there. Pull it out just a tad. And the end of it is all boogered up. Cut it off. Wet it. Or you can use one of those little doohickaroonies and threaders, and they're an aggravating pain in the damn neck. I don't like them. Kim loves them. I can't stand them. Probably because she's used them a lot and I have not. You pull it out, run it under the foot. If you don't run it under the foot, it will not sew, and the thread will come right out. And that's what we just had happen, so we want to prevent that from happening again. Boy, howdy. Sometimes the motor isn't strong enough. You have to do it by hand, especially when you're going through one of these damn straps. It is a freaking nightmare. Whoops. I accidentally moved my little setting there. And it did it again. I don't know what is causing that. I've got thread from my bobbin under there. So what we're going to do is pull it out. Got that rat's nest going on. Cut it. Cut that one. And it's moving fine. I don't understand that. All those needles are a real freaking pain in the damn neck. I cannot believe I... Alright, got it back, threaded back up. So now we're going to roll this piece here in. Because if I don't, it's just going to come right apart. We're going to roll it in, make a little bunch out of it. And we're going to sew through every bit of that, and that'll tie all that damn string together. Oh, and this is where if you had a more modern sewing machine, you could do a little bit more with it, but I am not going to complain. And we'll start it by hand. I'll tell you something else. If you can get away with it, don't use black thread. Black thread sticks out like a sore thumb. Use a brown or a gray. Gray is the best because it just blends in. It's hard for the eye to see it. It's not bright. It's not dark. A nice gray will really screw with Mr. Bad Guy's eyeballs, and yours too if you're trying to see it. All right, got my foot up as much as it'll lift. Get this thing angled. Thread still in there. And because this burlap, I'm going to put some stitches across here and all too. Alright. And I don't want a straight line again, so I'm pulling out some of that excess to the edge. So it'll be sort of lumpity and all that. And it just does not want to move this heavy material at all. Now that one there sounded bad. That sounded like I just bent the piss out of the damn needle. That happens.